Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Harley Quinn. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, there's a whole situation. Now, obviously, Harley's come back, obviously, from the, bachelorette party, and she runs into Clayface and King Shark, and it's like, hey, how did you, how was, the bachelor party? It's like, oh yeah, King Shark's like, I got married and everything, so it's pretty cool. And so it's a situation of like, all right, but she's like obviously trying to pretend like nothing happened. So she's kind of like, oh, you guys want to get a drink? 1, 2, 3, maybe a whole bunch. But obviously King Shark's like, I got to spend time with Tabitha's family because they're super religious. The belief that like Jesus was a shark or something like that. And Clayface is, got to do his whole thing. I think it was like him talking about like either he was going to, I think it was like something he was going to watch or roll or whatever. The fact of the matter is it's like everyone else has got something else to do, and it's kind of what I thought was going to happen last episode, like especially now that things are weird between her and Ivy. It's like, oh, like now she's going to end up not having anyone. I figured if anything she'd have Frank and Cy, but to be fair, like why would she go around Frank, because Frank's connected to Ivy, so that would just hurt more. So it's like all she has is Cy, and it's like, oh, the fact of the matter is he could tell that something was wrong. And so it's like for Harley, because basically I think he was the one that was suggesting like what you need to do is just basically get laid. So she basically goes out in town and she's like, I'm here, I'm DT, I'm down to clown. And the dude's like, do you have a reservation? She's like, no. And he's like, well, you're gonna have to clown over there at the bar. And I'm like, that's so interesting. You're a villain, Harley, yet you're following the rules. Like, I don't get it. Why are you doing that? Like, especially once again, it's like she did some like villainy stuff in season 1. She's done some stuff here and there, hero/villainy stuff, but at the same time it's like you've been mainly a hero, like once again anti-hero, but you still been heavily a hero this season. I just think that's so interesting. Like, why would you even abide by the rules? Why don't you be like, fuck the rules? No, like you're gonna seat me. But it's like, nah, you just sit down at the bar and this dude's talking to you and you're just like, he's so boring, you don't want to deal with him. But then there's a whole situation of, lo and behold, who's your bartender? None other than Joker. She's like, you have got to be fucking kidding me. Like, out of any place, I had to end up here where you're at. And she's trying to avoid him. And he's like, oh, like, she's like, I'm not going to, like, let you hit on me and stuff like that. He's like, no, I'm in a relationship. I'm happy with my girlfriend and our kids. Well, technically, they're her kids, but, so that whole thing. At the same time, Psycho showed up because he's just getting his stuff. And then you have, Cy being like, oh, you're just going to bail after everything this team has done for you. And it's just like, well, he doesn't, Harley doesn't go all the way like she should. Then there's a whole Riddler situation. It's like, oh, here's this thing he can never get out because I reinforced the thing. So there's nearly impenetrable for him to, leave. So, and then like the place that Harley's spending this time with Joker, and it's just like the whole thing of like she's trying to avoid being around him, but it's like she doesn't have much choice because just as she's about to leave, like the whole place is about to get robbed. And I love that it's like, oh yeah, like they're being somewhat respectable while also being like, oh, we'll go at, I forgot what the wording he used. It was kind of like, oh, like we're almost a little aggressive, but like, well, we're not that aggressive. And so Harley gets, cuffed to Joker, and it's like, whoa, shit. And he's like, it's like, whoa. You think like I'm, but he has memories of being the Joker, but he just interprets them as dreams. So he was like, oh yeah, I had this weird dream that I was doing this, but it was just he was like, oh yeah, like, and Harley's like, wait, did they set on fire afterward? He's like, yeah, how'd you know you had that same dream? Weird. She's like, yeah, weird. We both had the same dream. So it's like, obviously his subconscious, like obviously we've seen it peek out here and there of like, especially when he kind of gets into a laughing fit, like the Joker comes out a little bit. So I just thought that was such an interesting thing of like, all right, you're around your ex, and it's just like, especially with everything that's going down, they beat up that one dude to get away, and he's like, oh my god, I think you killed that guy. And it's just kind of like, obviously it's like she has a lot she wants to talk about, but she's like, you were literally the last person I want to talk to. But inadvertent, she ends up opening up to him about like everything with Ivy. It was like, yeah, I told my best friend I love her, but she said she rejected me because she says she can't trust me. He's like, oh, love and trust, it kind of goes hand in hand and stuff like that. So the entire time in the vent, she's like actually opening up to him, which is like, it's so interesting. I mean, to be fair, he's not the Joker right now. He's literally everything the Joker wasn't. So, he's a decent enough person. So it actually, I'm sure it kind of helps. I mean, it's interesting because you're confessing all this to the person who probably knows you the best, but arguably you can make the argument, well, it's like Ivy's the one that knows you the best. Joker never really did. He could probably pretend to. I mean, the argument could also be made that he does know you best. Whatever the case may be. So there's that. I love Gordon being like, all right, we need a team of what was like, he was like 4 guys and 1 woman. That ratio specifically. Now get another team with that exact ratio, go into this area. And so obviously because I didn't realize this, because the other episode didn't point out the fact is the parademons are still running rampant. It's not like they were like, I guess in my, like we saw them still wreaking havoc, but I thought most of them went back to dark side. But no, they're still here on Earth wreaking havoc, and they're trying to deal with that. Jim gets a note from Batman. It's like up the roof, and it's like, get in. He's in the Bat Jet and everything. There was even a comment from King Shark early in the episode where he was like, can he really be Batman? He's just a dude that dresses up like a bat. He's not even actually part bat. Because truth be told is, Man-Bat is more Batman than Batman, you know, when you actually think about it. But nevertheless. But Gordon's just bummed because he's sitting there the entire time because, like, he has to press the button on the net that catches the parademon. He's like, I don't even get to fly it or anything. It's like, yeah, but you get to press the button. And I love that Alfred's like, okay, obviously you can't go out there because you did that last time and it super didn't work out for you, so you got to be fully recovered. So he brings him something to drink, and he's like, oh, that's hot, Alfred. And he's like, or you could just wait for it to cool down. And he's like, yes, Alfred, I could wait. And Alfred just goes and starts blowing on it. My mind immediately kind of goes, and this is a bit of a tangent, so follow me. The Super Best Friends, a while back, they did Let's Plays on the Telltale Batman games, which are really good games. They're probably some of my favorite, the Telltale games. Regardless, the fact of the matter is, well, side note also, they're like probably some of my favorite like Batman stories. I just like the way those 2 seasons were constructed. Regardless, tensions and all that. Basically, they made jokes about like Bruce Wayne, because especially how he looked in that game. Bruce looks like Archer, so they constantly made references to Archer from Archer, and making Alfred Woodhouse. And if you've seen the show Archer, you know what Archer and Woodhouse's relationship is like. So this made me think about that, just the way he's acting like that, because it's like he's acting a little like, oh, I could do that, Alfred. And he's like, and just like, fine, give me what you want, Master Way, type of situation. So it's like, it immediately took my brain there. So I just thought it was kind of, fascinating. Then there's that guy, what's his name, Carl, who brings up the fact is he hasn't seen his kids. It's been 7 years, but the other dude's like, nah, man, it's good. You missed out on that chance. Like, that was you in the past. This is kind of a new start for you. Harley shows up, guns are firing, and then Harley like cuts the handcuffs, picks up a gun and shoots him, and it's like, well, what did it do to him? And it looks, and the label to the gun is cancer ray. It's like, oh my god, that was a cancer ray, Carl. And he's like, Harley, you gave me cancer? And she's like, why the hell would they even make that? And Carl's like, you know what, I'm gonna spend the rest of my time with my family. And she's like, I'm sorry, Carl. I'm like, why the hell does Wayne Tech have a freaking cancer gun? It's like, Jesus, that's super messed up. I also didn't talk about it, but she runs into Riddler, and even then it's like, how the hell is Riddler out? So it's like, Dr. Psycho made all that point about like he'd never be able to get out, but it's also like, she's like, actually I was actually going to ask like not why you were here, how you got here and everything, because it turned out this whole thing was him, the robbery was a distraction so he could get his helmet and everything. But I'm like, she's looking at him, she's like, you're super ripped. He's like, yeah, running on that treadmill literally every day, like, gives me. And he was like, oh, he was actually super buff now. And he's like, wait, is that the Joker? And he's like, well, he called me the Joker. And he starts laughing, and then she closes his mouth. It's like, nope, super not the Joker. So, and I love that literally everyone picks it up immediately, because like when she runs into Gordon, he's like, got you, Joker. I got the Batman's, arch nemesis. And it's like, I love that aspect of it, just being like he's doing everything he can to please Batman, At the same time, I thought this was kind of an interesting thing. I don't know if this was kind of supposed to be a reference to this. I don't know. I don't even know if maybe this is a comic book thing. But when Joker was fending off that dude, he picked up a pencil and stabbed him in the eye. I was like, that heavily makes me think of the Dark Knight, like Christopher Nolan. And I was like, was that supposed to be like a wink and nod to that, or is that like in general, like the Joker and pencils and stabbing people? Is that just a thing? It's just like sometimes I feel like these might be little winks and nods to like movies and other continuity, like other Batman related stuff, not just a comic book, just other things like TV shows and movies. I mean, obviously this has referenced Gotham like literally by name in the episode where they kind of broke the fourth wall, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a show on DC Universe called Harley Quinn, that whole thing, like a couple episodes back. So so that makes me wonder. But nevertheless, it turns out, Psy, King Shark, and Clayface show up, and it's like, wait, she's like, I didn't text you guys. What's up with that? It's like, oh, it turns out the one behind all of this was not just Riddler, but Psycho, because this has been his plan. I was like, wow, I figured he was going to go do the whole big bad thing on his own, but I didn't expect him to kind of be like at odds with the team. It's like, this is your crew, but it's like he's so pissed at them and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, we're partners. And I love that Clayface immediately interprets it as a relationship. He's like, oh, he's like, the fact of the matter is, bearing your like butts and stuff like that. He was like, more power to you and stuff like that. And it's just like, it's not that type of relationship. He's like, I get it. You don't want to label it and stuff like that. I love that he kept going, but he was just like, at the end of the day, he was like, I'm glad that you found somebody. I'm happy for you and everything. And it's just like, Psycho's like, no, we're business partners. Like, he's going to let me go to the lengths I wanted to go to, but Harley kind of held me back. It's like, all you ever did was belittle me. She's like, what are you talking about? I literally brought you into a crew no one wanted you, Psycho. I brought you into the crew. I couldn't, if it wasn't for her, you'd kind of back to being nobody. You're actually kind of somebody because you're with Harley. But for him, he's pissed, because she's like, the fact of the matter is you were always pissy because you were working underneath a woman. He's like, honestly, that's fair, but still. So he puts on the helmet and he's able to amplify his power and the parademons. And she's like, oh, I see what he's going to do. He's going to do my whole old plan of taking over Gotham and then going by dark side. And then he's like, I'm going to run Gotham and then go to dark side. And Gordon's like, she literally just said it. He was like, damn it. So now it's a situation of like, it's a full-blown fight between everybody. They're ripping through. And I love Gordon's like, stand back, I got this. Shoot some of the parademons. Nothing happens. So, you know what? You guys got this. So it turns into a full-blown brawl. And it's like, I like that twist of putting like Dr. Psycho and them at odds. I thought that was really, fascinating. And then there's the whole situation of them seeming like they're coming out on top a little bit, but then like he puts a dome in, trapping him and everything, and then your boy Psy is making a sacrifice because King Shark and Clayface are under his control. So it's almost a sad situation of, like I said, it was already leading that direction in the beginning, but now Harley is kind of left alone because literally because like obviously like, Joker was like, no, like you should call Harley in this type of situation. I mean, you should call Ivy, but she's like, you remember I made that whole thing about like obviously making a mess and not cleaning up. She's like, this is kind of that point. Like she's afraid that if she showed Ivy this whole thing, it's just like, oh, it's just going to be another mess she's going to have to clean up that I made. So she didn't want to do that. She didn't want to drag Ivy into it because it would just further prove their point and everything. But it's like, this is a situation you should have called her in for. But Psy, is making a sacrifice, and he's like, oh, if I can do one thing and saving you and everything. I was like, oh, Psy, and he's standing up and everything. And I love that, like, he was like, it's like, can't you fire, like, because Harley was like, can't you fire a missile from that bat plane and everything? And he's like, no, like, I could, but I just don't feel like it. Also, he's like, I don't have permission to also. I thought it was going to be, I don't know how. It's like, no, I don't have permission to. So, but Psy, makes a big speech and everything, because obviously for him, he never liked Psycho. And she's like, especially because like Psycho's looked straight up an asshole in this situation where you're literally turning against the people that were your pals this entire time. And so he ends up, Psy kills himself destroying the shield. And I was like, holy shit. And Gordon's like, oh, man. And he's like, oh, geez, that's so sad. All right. Oh, no autopilot either. Oh, I guess I'm going to have to fly this bad boy, too. So I was like, are you going to bring King Shark and Clayface? It was like, to be fair, they're still under Psycho's control. So it's like, holy shit. So it went from one thing of like, okay, like the Injustice Society, and now it's a situation of bam, now Psycho is like the main guy to be worried about, and it's like, holy crap, that's interesting. Well, he's got one or the other dudes on his side, that being Riddler, so that's interesting. I even love that Harley made fun of the fact is, I guess now that you're buff, your riddles suck now. But like, I was like, oh, but where's Joker? And it's like, oh, he's in the back. But then he brings up like, oh yeah, like the only people that could stop this situation is the Justice League. So it's like, what are we gonna do? But then Joker remembers. He's like, oh yeah, like I had a dream about them being in a book. And it's like, wait, you remember that? He's like, yeah, I remember coming across. He's just, I can't remember where. So Harley takes him to factory and everything, and he's like, she's begging, she's like, tell me that you can remember. He's like, no, it's all kind of, a haze and everything. And so for her, it's just like, obviously she's like, this is the last thing I want, but we need that book. We need to get the Justice League back if we plan on stopping Psycho. So once again, more hero than villain, because even he was like, oh, like, you're not even like a true villain. And that is the interesting case of her character in the show. But nevertheless, she's like, I'll be seeing you soon, Mr. J. He's almost looking like, what? She throws him in. And it's so interesting because it's like, for her, she even said it going in. It's like, oh, this place has bad memories for her. And it's like, this is where Harley Quinn was born. So it's interesting for this to be the rebirth of the Joker, And so that's obviously but that's the thing. We're dealing with the Joker. He lies and manipulates. You can't trust him with anything. So that's something she's going to have to keep in mind. So it's sad because for her, she's blaming herself because it's like, because of everything going on between her and Ivy. She's the one that brought Psycho into the crew. So like all of this, she feels like the whole parademons thing, like that was all her. So she feels like all of this is kind of on her. Once again, still not bringing Ivy into the fold because it's like she's got her life and I can't, be messing up her life right now, especially when, like I said, it's just going to prove Ivy's point true, so she wants to be able to correct what she believes to be her mistake because, it's all on her. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where all this ultimately ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time you meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.